Tiered Hexagon core shape, top tier performance. Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me. As you know, my name is Brian, core design engineer with Brunswick Bowling, and today we're talking about the two newest releases in the Brunswick lineup. They are the Ultimate Defender and the Endeavor. I can't wait to talk about this new core shape and the ball motion that the Endeavor makes, but first we're going to talk about the Ultimate Defender. Since this is the core of it, we're going to first talk about the core. This is nothing new to the Brunswick fans. This is the Portal X core, which is the successor to the original Portal core that was found in the Prism series, an absolute fan favorite for Brunswick fans. This ultra-low RG247 core also has a total differential of 0.53 for high flare potential and a moderate intermediate differential of 0.15. That lower intermediate differential means that this ball is not going to get too forward or too jerky in the mid lane. And even though this is a faster revving core, the pairings with the HK covers have been absolutely excellent on this ball, and they give good length before making a sharper change of direction at the back of the lane than the balls that are at the top of the Pro Performance series with these defenders, and those are the mindsets. Where the mindsets are earlier, stronger, diggier in the mid lane and tend to blend out the back of the lane a little better, these defenders are definitely built to be cleaner through the front part of the lane, give a hard charging late mid lane read, and they're not jerk stoppy by any stretch, they're just a more sweeping motion at the back of the lane. Now on paper, the Defender Hybrid and this new Ultimate Defender look almost identical. Outside of sharing the same Portal core, they also have the ACT 3.0 additive package inside the HK22 cover base. So really it just looks like the difference between sanded versus compounded, but we've made some tweaks to this HK22 cover base with this additive package in particular. Since we first debuted the Defender Hybrid, which was the first ball to get HK22, and even if you match the box finishes, I see the Ultimate Defender as being a little earlier in the mid lane, a little more secure in the late mid lane, with a more sweeping change of directions while covering similar, if not more boards overall than the Defender Hybrid with their surfaces matched. Now, of course, at box finish, there's quite a bit of separation between these two balls, with the compounded Defender Hybrid going a good 2 to 3 feet longer, making a sharper yet still sweeping change of direction on the back of the lane with good continuation for an asymmetric Pro Performance ball. And this new Ultimate Defender being definitely a late mid lane reaction is what I would call it. I characterize its motion as a sweeping or a hard arcing motion. I don't think it's particularly jerky or strong mid lane reading, but I also don't think it's particularly flippy, especially at the 500-2000 box finish. So these are an excellent 1-2 punch, or if you have something like an original mindset, you could certainly use the Ultimate Defender as a small step down in transition to get you through the fronts better and around the corner. Compared to the newest Perfect Mindset, I do think the Ultimate Defender is more ball in the late mid lane, and I do think from the mid lane to the pins, the Ultimate Defender just outhooks the Perfect Mindset. The Perfect Mindset has a smoother box finish, but also that core is just a little smoother overall. It's a more mid lane read with a little blendier back end motion. Pairing that with a relatively smooth box finish of, I believe it's 3000. That ball gets through the fronts easy, but its change of direction isn't making up as much ground on the back of the lane. So to put them in order, I would go the original Mindset, the Ultimate Defender, and then the Perfect Mindset underneath. Now, it's rare for anyone to get this excited about a mid-performance ball, but in testing and in the early reception that we've gotten from the independent testers and the pro staff that have been able to throw this ball, it has been eye-opening. This ball is clean and it is relatively sharp for a symmetrical ball, and this ball basically outkicks its coverage for its price point. This is a mid-performance ball that's stacking up against a bunch of high-performance balls in both our line and in the competitor's line in terms of reaction on the back of the lane, and a few independent reviewers have even said that this ball is the sharpest symmetrical ball that they've ever thrown. This is the new Endeavor. The new Endeavor has a brand new core in it that is powering this incredible motion. It is the tier-topped symmetrical core. This core plays in a higher RG range than you're used to seeing out of Brunswick symmetrical balls at 254 RG min. That's going to mean that this core is later revving, and because it's later revving, it's seeing the back of the lane a little harder than the previous cores in this lineup, notably the Attitude series, which had the Contra core. The Contra core was also in the Hero series, so those were the last two advanced balls from the Brunswick lineup, and those all had the Contra core at 247 RG, which is a very fast revving, early revving core, despite the fact that the total differentials are very close on these balls. Our brand new Endeavor here has an 045 total differential, and the Hero series, the Attitude series, had an 047. So the flare potential on both of these balls is very similar, but this core being much later revving, and it is shape that generates ball motion. And if you picture the Contra core, in fact I'll throw it up for you guys to see, when you look at the Contra core, which is a very mass-centric core shape, relative to this very high RG tiered top symmetrical core, you'll notice that the shapes are nothing alike. That slightly roundish, slightly mass-centric Contra core is going to be fast revving and relatively smooth and round overall. This tier top core is a lot more unstable, on top of the fact that it has a higher RG. It has a very mass-heavy top, which is not centered with the center of mass of this core. That means it's a little bit unstable, and that means it's going to unload at the back of the lane because the core wants to right itself in a quicker manner than a relatively mass-centric, relatively rounded, smooth Contra core does. So this is kind of letting you in under the hood about the secret to success about this core, not to mention the fact that these tiered levels and these shaved sides give us an interesting ability to keep mass exactly where we want it inside this core, but also gives us the ability to slim this core up relative to a conic core, for example, to get that high RG that we're looking to achieve. So there's a lot at play here with this new core, and all of it results in ball motion that is later and sharper than the cores of the series that it's replacing. Due to the shape and design limitations of this very unique core shape, we did not put dot on this ball, but it does have dynamic core. That's the blue outer core material that you get when you drill into the ball. That outer core is a stronger strength to weight ratio material, gives you a little harder hitting power at the pins. And of course that core is surrounded by the Activator Plus 3.0 Pearl cover stock. If that name sounds familiar, that's because we've seen this on a ball before. The Attitude series of 2 years ago, the original Pearl Attitude, that was blue, black, silver, had this cover stock on it. Although, as we learn and grow with our HK cover stock, our new cover bases, and our different additive packages, we're also learning and improving on our original bases that we still use. So although this is the same cover stock with the same ingredients and relatively same ratios, it is an improvement over the cover that was on that Attitude. I'm not really sure why they didn't give it like a 3.5 or a 4.0 naming, but either way, it's a step up in my opinion from the cover that was on the Attitude, which was very stout in its own right, but it's also powered by this brand new core, which is just so structurally different and so different in the RG range that it covers that you're just getting completely different ball motion than the Attitude series, which was very mid-lane secure and dependable. And I still, relative to like the strong, shiny, asymmetrical balls, you are not going to see as much back-end motion and as much sharp change of direction as those balls. But with this Endeavor, you get a ball that is probably at least a category stronger than its price point, and it's all on the back of the lane. I see the Endeavor being highly useful for a wide range of players. First, for the high rev players, this could be a ball that you carry around for lots of house shots when you can dig in left of every one, send it through some fresh head oil, but still have a lot of bank off of that house shot shape or off of that mid lane that's drying up. I don't know that this is necessarily a ball that you start with at box finish. I think this is a ball that's easy to downshift into when you're ready to take a step left as a high rev player. And as a matched or a low rev player or a higher speed player, this is probably going to be like your third option in your 3-ball bag if you're bowling on a decent amount of volume. Because you have your high asymmetrical balls like the ones we talked about previously in this video, but you also have some symmetrical balls in this lineup that can easily go above it. Namely, the Ethos would be a perfect ball above this Endeavor. The Ethos might be the first ball out of your bag, or it might be a ball that's a little clean and a little sharp for fresh oil, in which case you could blend it out with something smoother like a Rhino Pro. But when you're ready to get into your Ethos and then that ball starts hooking either too much or too early, then it's a no-brainer step down into the Endeavor, which just glides through the fronts quite a bit more easily and stores all of the motion for the back of the lane. It's actually giving you probably a sharper change of direction than the Ethos, although I do have it a good 3 or 4 less than the Ethos because the Ethos is a lot more in the mid lane and it doesn't quit on the back of the lane either. But because the Ethos is earlier and gives you such a stout mid lane read, the Endeavor definitely clears it and looks sharper because it's covering boards further down the lane for sure. All told, the Endeavor is probably on par with the response to friction of the Ethos being the smoother looking ball because it reads in the mid lane a little harder, bleeds a little more energy off in the late mid lane, and then continues smoothly in the back of the lane where the Endeavor is just starting to unload. That's all the information I have on these 2 brand new releases in the Brunswick lineup. They are the Ultimate Defender and the Endeavor. You'll notice our release window is shortened up a little bit so that none of the balls from other months overlap. We just announced the Endeavor and the Ultimate Defender at the beginning of February, and they're already available in Pro Shops February 22nd. Make sure you swing into your local Pro Shop, pre-order now, and get it when they're available. If you have any questions about how these 2 balls fit into the current Brunswick lineup, or if you have any questions about the core shapes or how they would fit into your arsenal, for example, feel free to drop a comment below. And since you're here, make sure that you already like or subscribe to my Facebook and YouTube channels, Bowling Buckosh, because I make new releases every time a new core comes out from the brands of Brunswick. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.